about you guys?
She has a different voice and a different understanding.
We're on OffSite Dirt. OffSite Dirt is a construction news platform for all things offsite, including different pathways, trends, technology, and high performance, which is exactly why we have Jim Mattison here with us. And Jim Mattison Millworks is located in Brooklyn, New York. He is a designer and engineer fabricator. He also does and installs high performance passive house windows and doors. He works with architects and contractors in the area. Welcome, Jim. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me today, Audrey.
We are happy you're here. It's exciting to see you're expanding in custom work for windows and also in doors. And for many people that have not met you before, can you give us a little bit of background on Mattison Millworks and how it all became?
Yeah, absolutely. So the focus of my business is to, as you said, Audrey, to design, engineer, fabricate, and install high-performance windows and doors. I like to work with architects and contractors in this region. And in a lot of cases, I like to take on some of the more unique and challenging designs and projects that might have a high level of specificity to either a particular job site or a built condition.
That's wonderful. You don't hear that too often, that people that you want to work with are the ones that usually typically have these extraordinary projects that make it a little bit more difficult to work with. So it's nice to hear that you find that interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. My background is actually in architecture and construction project management. I went to school for architecture and earned my master's degree with a focus in technology, but I've really always been, more hands-on approach in building by working as an architectural millworker and a carpenter in the summers between school and after graduating. So, my professional career has really combined a lot of architecture and construction, worked in some of the offices, but really my love is for building. So this has allowed me to take on a lot more unique roles in fabrication and also in construction project management.
I love that. And I love that we're going to talk about this very exciting project that you just completed, the Carriage House in Brooklyn. Can you frame us about the project, and then tell us the unique properties and the things that you brought to the table in order to complete this project?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So it was a very challenging and unique project. It was located here in Brooklyn, New York. This is a carriage house restoration project. It's like a 3-wide masonry building. It is historic, so it did have to follow some rules on to meet the Landmarks Preservation Committee requirements in the city. But there are also some really unique elements to the way that the mass timber addition was added to the rooftop. So it really had me designing, fabricating, and installing a really wide range of projects for this one building. In some cases, there were arched and elliptical openings in some of the historic masonry facade. In the rear yard level of the building, there was a very large lift and slide door that kind of spanned the entire width of the carriage house. And then on the rooftop, as I mentioned, there was this mass timber addition, which was a really unique shape and form. It kind of had this angled shape to it. And so I was brought into the project to provide all the high performance windows and doors. And in some cases, it was just a one-off element, like a tilt turn window that were used on the second floor rear facade. But in other cases, like with the mass timber enclosure, it was really like multiple elements coming together to enclose this new addition. So my role was to be involved in all the phases of that, from schematic design through design development, construction drawings, and fabrication. Every component was modeled as a parts-based 3D model and manufactured off-site in my studio.
Oh my gosh. So you are like the perfect example of what we love to talk about in offsite dirt. You are an architect and a designer, which is amazing. You have Mattison Millworks, that is your entity and your property of business. You are including 3D design into an application for high performance. You're also making a kit of parts offsite and bringing it to the site in order to install. How difficult or how easy was that in order for you to make that happen? Was this months of planning? Like, how long did this process take in order for you to execute from the beginning to the end?
Sure. So, of course, it is a very involved process, and I think that's a really important idea to bring up, is that by offering such a specialized service that's combining design assist contracting with engineering and fabrication, it's really my goal to be brought in at some of the earliest phases in the project so that I can be part of the planning process and, again, be involved really with every stage of the project, so that the architect and contractor can really get what they want. We can communicate and have a dialogue, and that we're running into fewer surprises throughout the project by really planning effectively for every stage.
Agreed. And I think the interesting thing is that this is high performance, which means it's all about energy savings and really enclosing a building and being able to make calculations on this particular project. Were they trying to be LEED certified or anything like that? Or was it more or less really restoring, redesigning, and actually having a better living facility?
I think it's a little more the latter of the two, restoring, redesigning. There are certainly many high performance elements, including, of course, the windows and doors, but also the way that the insulation was handled, the way that the prefabrication was really a major part of the building, not just what I was providing, but as I mentioned, the mass timber addition, a really beautiful staircase in the project that the architect designed with another vendor. And but high performance was really at the core of the project.
I love that. I think that we are starting to see more and more companies, more and more individuals, owners, architects, builders, they are starting to really consider how they're building and how they want to achieve these goals of higher performance, energy, resilience, and savings. So in that collaboration, now we know that you have to be involved at the very beginning of this conversation in order to communicate with the architect. You are an architect, so you see things differently. Throughout the project and being in that very first stage of the project, how have you seen that benefit your business in as far as cultivating product and being able to have a deliverable on the end of it?
Sure, that's a great question. So I think, a really primary element of what I'm trying to offer is the drawing and modeling process. I think it's really, for me, meant to be an incredibly powerful tool for communication and creating a dialogue throughout a given project. The way I'm trying to achieve that is through 3D parametric modeling, and this is used both on-site and off-site. And the goal there is to really kind of integrate the transition from one to the other more seamlessly. So the model's really used at every stage, as I mentioned, from schematic design through design development, construction documents, and fabrication drawings. And every element is modeled, and it can even be exchanged with my preferred engineering team, who they can then perform what's called a finite element analysis. And so things like structural performance under wind loading or global deflection or even thermal performance, those can all be analyzed native to the software. And so what I mean by that is that there's really no need for the engineer to perform additional drawing or modeling work. They're taking my model, running it through simulators within the software and performing the analysis there. So it's really, saving time and being that efficient tool for communication. I can receive signed and sealed engineering drawings directly from those models. And then if something changes in the field, maybe while we're working that out or on the job site, I can update that model parametrically within a few minutes and then have the model analyzed again as needed. So it's really meant to kind of cut down on some of that, excess modeling, too many parties needing to design or draw independently. It's trying to integrate it all in one place, create that precision model, and therefore, kind of create this level of trust and something that we can really rely upon throughout every stage of the project.
Yeah, and I think it's so smart that you're able to model it and see it, that eases communication. And then when you're also able to achieve what you're going into with other engineers and being able to use that, and then also your background as the architect really streamlines the system very quickly. I think that is an amazing asset to any project. And especially since you really love doing these unique and custom projects, I'm sure it has been a huge benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really love working with both architects and builders. And I do want to be clear, I am not an architect. I don't have a professional architect's license. I went through the training, I went through a lot of the experience, but again, my focus has really been in kind of this design assist contracting, building, fabrication, being on site. And so while I can speak the language of an architect.
You're not licensed as the architect. I'm glad that you clarify that, because I can only imagine people calling you're like, no.
No, I absolutely want to make that clear.
Thank you.
I'm not a licensed architect, but I work with architects all the time, trained as an architect. And so, for me, it's really about serving as that link or bridge between the architect and the building contractor.
How did you come up with this idea of these prefab building components and making these kit of parts? How did that come to a realization? Was that just effectiveness, being able to be more efficient, or where did that process come from you, James, especially when you were talking about this carriage house project?
Yeah, so some of the inspiration for that came through some of my professional experience after school. I was working in a few design builds companies here in New York. And in some cases, I was, primarily the fabricator in the shop, building out the designs of the architect team that I'm working with and installing them on site. In other cases, I was a little more involved at the construction management level. So I started really taking on the drafting, design, and engineering work, and then communicating with the shop and getting those really, really special projects designed, built, engineered, installed. And I just love, kind of the more unique aspect of that, being able to take on all these different roles and really kind of get my hands dirty in the process, and also take ownership of the process, to not really hand so much off to someone else or say, this part's me and this part's you. It's really, about creating this more like integrated whole.
What is the key thing that you've learned through that process?
It takes a lot of ownership. It takes a lot to be involved in every step. And I appreciate that. It gives me a lot of pride in what I do. And it lets me see my work as something very specific and unique.
I agree. And the best part about it is if anybody wanted to know about the process along the way, since you've experienced it, you've studied it, you are a part of that conversation, it also allows the person on the other end to understand it. And that's the process of getting better and more fluid with passive house design or creating any type of build design. So I compliment you on that. And I think that that's a great skill set. And knowing that Mattison Millworks is out there and being able to have this discovery and this unique properties. Right now, you're only doing projects in the New York or Brooklyn area, or are you expanding?
Currently just working in the Brooklyn, Manhattan, potentially upstate New York type projects. But I think there is something, unique about being able to design and engineer some of these elements and kind of send them off as a kit of parts if they do need to be installed somewhere else that's not local to me. One of the other ways that I like to use the software is to create, sort of assembly sequence type drawings so that I can communicate how I'm putting something together in the shop with the person who's on site in the case that I'm not there leading the installation.
Amazing. So here is a perfect example of what we love about OffSite Dirt, that we have an individual owner that has created something unique to the marketplace and that is welcomed in the marketplace, from technology to engineering to being craftsmen to being able to design the product and then also using an offsite solution. We are so pleased to hear about your business and it growing. We cannot wait for the next project. Do you have something on the docket coming up or anything new that's happening within your business?
I do have some exciting things in the works, and I'm also taking on a new studio space currently that I'm very excited about, setting that up for more, specific to my operation and the plan for growth. So looking forward to a new year.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here. We're excited about your deliverables. We're excited about this project that we have been able to see today and actually learn more about who you are and know that passive house, high performance, being able to build offsite is really a specialty and works so well in your business model. We're so pleased to meet you.
Great. Thank you so much, Audrey. This is a real pleasure.
Thank you. And another episode of our high performance building equation. We are thrilled to have Jim Mattison with Mattison Millworks. He is located in Brooklyn, New York. We can't wait to see the next project. Thank you again for being here and have a great day.
Thanks.
He has a different voice and a different understanding